You have been giving people the one thing they should never be allowed to have: your need for their approval. And the moment they sensed it, the moment they felt your pursuit, your anxiety, your need for their validation, they lost interest. Not because you were not enough, because you were chasing instead of building, because you had made their response the condition of your peace. And a man whose peace is conditional on someone else's decision has already handed over the only thing that actually makes him worth choosing: his sovereignty. The Stoics identified this pattern 2,000 years ago, not as a relationship problem, not as a confidence problem, as a philosophical failure. The failure to understand where your value actually lives. And what happens to a man the moment he stops looking for it in other people? Social psychologist Dr. Robert Cialdini spent decades studying the mechanics of human attraction across cultures, contexts, and centuries. His finding was consistent and deeply uncomfortable. Availability diminishes desire. Scarcity creates it. The man who is always there, always responding, always pursuing, always signaling that this outcome matters more than anything else, is the man whose value the room consistently underestimates. Not because he has less to offer, because he has revealed that he needs the room's confirmation before he can believe in what he offers. Psychologist Roy Baumeister's research on self-worth confirmed the mechanism. Men who derive their sense of value from external sources, from outcomes, from approval, from whether someone chooses them, are measurably less confident, less decisive, and consistently less attractive to the people whose attention they are most urgently pursuing. The pursuit signals the lack, and lack repels what abundance attracts. History confirms this pattern at its most extreme. Mark Antony, one of the most powerful military commanders Rome ever produced, dismantled his entire legacy in the service of his need for Cleopatra's approval. He made decisions based on her response. He altered strategy based on her presence. He allowed her judgment to supersede his own. Rome watched. Rome lost respect. And Rome, eventually, won the war against the man who had handed his sovereignty to someone else's opinion of him. Marcus Aurelius watched this pattern from the seat of the most powerful office in the ancient world and wrote about it privately, to himself, in language that has not softened in 2,000 years. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man on earth for 19 years. Every person in his court wanted something from him: his approval, his attention, his emotional response. Senators who flattered him publicly and conspired privately. Advisors who measured their own importance by how much of the emperor's focus they could command. Men who had learned that a reaction from Marcus, any reaction, was a form of power over him. He documented his practice for refusing them in the private journal he wrote for no audience but himself. How much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does, but only to what he does himself. He was not writing about neighbors. He was writing about every person who wanted his approval, his reaction, his need. He gave them the same thing every time. Nothing. Not coldness. Not performance. The genuine, settled indifference of a man whose identity was not constructed from other people's opinions of him. Epictetus, who had been owned, whose freedom depended entirely on his master's decision, built the same interior from inside the most constrained circumstances available. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens, not as resignation, as sovereignty. Do your work. Be the man you have decided to be, and release, completely, the need for any person's response to confirm that the work was worth doing or the man worth choosing. Seneca named the cost of operating any other way with the precision of someone who had watched it destroy men of enormous capability. It is not the man who has little who is poor, but the man who craves more. The craving, for approval, for response, for the validation of someone who has not yet decided to give it, is not desire. It is the declaration that you do not yet believe you are enough without it. And that declaration is the most expensive thing a man can broadcast. So why does the pattern persist? Why do capable, intelligent men, men who can feel the dynamic costing them, keep giving their approval-seeking energy to people and situations that consistently devalue it? Three mechanisms, each one reinforcing the others. The first, need has been confused with desire. There is a distinction the Stoics drew with absolute precision that most men never learn. The difference between wanting something and needing it. When you want something, when you can genuinely take it or leave it, when your sense of self is not diminished by its absence, you pursue it from strength, from a position that does not shrink based on the response. When you need something, when your worth, your peace, your identity itself is held hostage by whether a specific person responds in a specific way, you pursue it from weakness. And weakness is visible, not always consciously, but in the quality of your presence, in how you speak, in how you hold the room, in the specific energy of a man who needs the outcome versus the man who simply prefers it. The man who prefers it carries himself differently, decides differently, walks away differently, because walking away costs him nothing permanent. His value was never stored in the other person's decision. The second, pursuit signals unavailability of the thing being pursued. There is a law operating in every human dynamic, documented across social psychology, confirmed across every culture and every century, that the act of chasing consistently reduces the value of the thing doing the chasing. Not because the thing lacks value, because the chase reveals that the chaser does not believe in their own value enough to stop chasing. The man who sends the fifth message. The man who adjusts his position based on the room's temperature. The man who monitors the response and modifies his behavior accordingly, has communicated something that no amount of impressive credentials, physical presence, or stated confidence can override. That he needs this more than he believes he deserves it. And people, without knowing they're doing it, pull back from that energy. Not to punish, because need is uncomfortable to be around, because it transfers pressure onto the person being needed, because indifference, real, genuine, unperformed indifference, is the rarest and most magnetic quality available to a human being in any dynamic. I want you to think about a specific moment, the last time you waited for a response. Not just waited, monitored, checked, rechecked, noticed the read receipt, constructed meaning from the delay. Now, what did the waiting cost you? Not the outcome, the waiting itself, the hour of focus that went nowhere, the mental energy spent running scenarios that had not yet happened and most of which never did, the specific quality of diminishment, quiet, private, never spoken aloud, that comes from a man who has made another person's timing the condition of his peace. Now ask the harder question. What did the person you were waiting for feel in that same window? If they sensed the waiting, if they felt the weight of your need pressing against their decision, what did that communicate about your value? Marcus Aurelius sat at the center of an empire full of people who wanted him to wait, who wanted him to need, to monitor, to respond to their moves. He did not wait. He did not monitor. He did not adjust his identity based on what the court decided about him that day. He wrote to himself. He held his standard. He continued. And the court, inevitably, adjusted to him. The third, and the one that requires the most honesty to face. Most men seek approval because they have not yet answered the question underneath the seeking. The question of whether they are enough, right now, without the outcome, without the response, without the validation of anyone whose opinion they have elevated above their own. As long as the seeking continues, as long as the response is being monitored, the approval being chased, the question stays unanswered. Because the chase is a deferral. It says, I will know my value when she responds, when he acknowledges it, when the room confirms it. The Stoics understood that this question is never answered from the outside. It is built, daily, specifically, through the quality of action taken when no one is watching, until the interior becomes stable enough to no longer require external confirmation. That stability is not arrogance. It is the settled, unperformed, completely genuine certainty of a man who knows what he is because he has been building it, quietly, consistently, for long enough that he no longer needs anyone else to see it to know it is real. Here is what you actually do, not eventually, starting tonight. Practice 1. Identify the approval you are seeking. Tonight, before you sleep, write down one person whose response you have been monitoring more than your own standard. One person whose opinion has been functioning as the measure of your value this week. Name them. Name what you have been waiting for. Then write one honest sentence. My value is not stored in their response. It is built in what I do when their response is not available. This is not affirmation. This is a structural decision. Made tonight. In writing. For no audience but yourself. Practice 2. Replace the monitoring with the building. The hours you have been spending checking, waiting, adjusting. Redirect them tomorrow to one specific act of construction. The work you have been deferring. The discipline you have been negotiating with. The standard you have been quietly lowering to accommodate the energy that has been going into the seeking. 1 hour. Tomorrow. Given entirely to the building. Marcus spent the hours before his court convened writing to himself, not to the court. The court got what was left after the building was done, not the other way around. Practice 3. Practice genuine indifference in one interaction. Tomorrow, identify one interaction where you would normally adjust your position based on the other person's response, where you would monitor, where you would modify, where you would give away the settled quality of a man who is not performing for the room, and hold your position, not as stubbornness, as the practiced, deliberate expression of a man who does not need this specific room's confirmation to know where he stands. Notice what happens when the room feels that you are not reaching for it. Practice 4. The evening accounting. Tonight and every night this week. Before you sleep, ask yourself one question. What did I do today that I did not do for anyone's approval? One thing. The workout no one saw. The standard you held when lowering it would have been easier. The decision you made from your own values rather than someone's expected reaction. Name it. Write it. Build the record of a man whose identity is constructed from his own daily actions, not from the daily response of people whose approval he has decided to stop needing. You came into this video seeking something, not consciously, but the pattern was running. The monitoring, the adjusting, the quiet, persistent need for someone's response to confirm what you should already know about your own value. And that pattern, however justified it felt, however familiar, however invisible, was the precise mechanism keeping you exactly where you were. Not because the people weren't worth pursuing, because you were pursuing them from a position that told them, before you said a single word, that you did not fully believe you were worth choosing. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself every morning, not to the empire, not to the court, not to the people who wanted his reaction. To himself. He asked one question before the world arrived. Am I the man I have decided to be today? Not. Does the room approve? Not. Did she respond? Not. Do they see what I am building? Am I it? Right now? Today? He wrote. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Not for the approval. Not for the audience. Not for the person whose response you have been storing your value inside. For yourself. The moment you stop needing someone's approval to feel valuable, you become the most valuable person in the room. Not because the room changed. Because you stopped making the room's opinion the condition of your sovereignty. Here is the hardest truth in this video. The version of you that people cannot ignore is built in the hours you stop trying to be noticed. Go build it. Subscribe to the Inner Citadel. This is where the sovereign man is built, one decision at a time, for the people who have decided to stop seeking and start constructing. I'll see you in the next one.